ready to go. On the Fan, New York Sports Radio. Mike's on, Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM, WFAN.
From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Friday, June 1st. It was a rainy morning. I spent it on a golf course. I mean rainy, and then it seems like it's cleared up. But we got some, hopefully everybody will get to play some baseball. We will do that and talk about that. But we begin, of course, where everybody in America has begun today, or any show that was anything after midnight last night, after one of the wild NBA final games ever, and one that was, in my mind, completely, utterly ruined by the officials. First of all, they had a lousy game. They were not up to the game, and the game was really well played because I don't think they can play any better than they played last night. I'm not saying everybody on Cleveland had an optimum game, but they got things out of them last night. I mean, LeBron's performance was otherworldly. They killed them on the backboards. They were able to withstand runs. They were able to make some plays. They got stuff out of guys like, Nance. They got plays out of Hill. They got plays out of Nance. They got different things. And then they get the game absolutely taken away from them. And listen, this is a game that was anticlimactic in overtime. And to me, where I start with the headline is, the only reason that LeBron's game is not one of the three greatest games ever played in the finals by any NBA player is because the overtime stunk. If that game hadn't gone to overtime and you take the overtime out, that was one of the three greatest performances in the history of the league in a finals game. Maybe even top two. That's how good it was. I mean, that performance was otherworldly. But on top of that, you had a bad overtime. But then to have the game taken away. And I've heard so much stuff that I think has been utter nonsense in the last 24 hours from people basically changing their mind on different things about what went on. And so many interpretations about JR that I just don't even understand. The bottom line is, here's what happened. JR Smith thought they were winning the game. It's obvious what he did. He got the rebound and he tried to run away from getting fouled. That's what he was doing. He was getting to a clearance. He was running out the clock. And you could see when he turned to LeBron, he said it. He said, I thought we were winning. I mean, that's the bottom line. He didn't, afterwards, he basically, when he got around a thing of reporters later that night, he lied. He said, I knew it was tied. He didn't know it was tied. He acted, you thought that game is tied, you're going right back up with the ball. He thought he was winning the game. He was running away thinking he was going to get fouled. He was dribbling out the clock. That's what he was doing. And you can't blame the head coach. You don't have time. Once he leaves the pen, you don't have time to call timeout. They've got to make a move right there. It did not happen. But to me, that play, I don't know if someone would have scored there or not. That to me is the third of the three. The second of the three is Hill has got to make the free throw. When you got a chance to win that game, when LeBron James is willing to not take the last shot and give you the ball there, you got to make the free throws. That's all there is to it. You've got to be able to, I guarantee you can go to Hill and ask him, he made 100 in a row sometime, somewhere. You got to be able to make a free throw there. You have to make a free throw. You just have to make them. And then you get to the play. And I don't care. Listen, we can sit here and debate whether or not that is a block or a charge from now until kingdom come. We saw Van Gundy say it was a charge. We saw Jaffe, who to me is one of the best officials I ever saw, say it was a charge. We can debate block charge, but what we can't debate is there is no mechanism there at the end of a finals game for them. They go to look and see if he's outside the dotted area. Once he is, and he was by 4 feet, and they even said they went there not for LeBron. They went there to see somebody else was in it. And then they made contact. The bottom line is you don't have any video evidence that merits changing that call that you made. You made the call. You made it in real time. You don't have any reason. And they said there's been calls changed. Yes, only dealing with the line. There has never been a big call in a big playoff game where they made the change that was not dealing with the line. To make that change against the greatest player in the sport is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. That is the worst thing in the world. There should be no mechanism for that in the first place. You made a judgment call. When do you go back to review a judgment call at that juncture, have no evidence that changes? We could sit here till the cows come home and decide whether that was a block or a charge. And maybe you're going to think it was a block, and maybe you're going to think it was a charge. I don't care. You can make great argument for both, as you saw people do last night. But there's no mechanism and no merit at all in changing that call there. There's nothing you would see there that would give you an evidence that you had a right to change that call. If he's in the dotted area, yes, change it automatically. We understand what the rule is. But after that, it's only if it is an egregious miscall. That was not. That was a judgment call that could have gone either way. You can't change that call. You change the whole game. 2 up with the ball and 36 seconds left. I mean, give me a break. They completely ruined the game. First of all, they were awful all night. They were awful. You know, sometimes officials just stink, and the way they handled the end of the game was a joke. They just were not up to the game last night. Sometimes officials aren't. They're human. They have bad games. And I love Breeny. You know, Mike Breeny and I are good friends. We've been close friends forever. He defends officials. I've been killing him for that for his whole life. He defends officials. That's what he does. He doesn't like to criticize officials. That's just that. Some announcers do, some announcers don't. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like to attack officials. Van Gundy will. Jackson will sometimes, but Mike doesn't like to attack officials. That's not his thing, which is fine. It just isn't. So you're not going to get any negative stuff from him on the officials. He's always going to bend over backwards to protect them. The bottom line is they screwed up last night. There's no way you changed that call. And they went to Jaffe and they went to Van Gundy. What did he say? And Jeff Van Gundy knows defense in this league as well as any one of the great defensive coaches in the history of the league. What did he say? Charge. What did Jaffe say? One of the best officials, and I think if voted, probably would get higher grades than anybody who officiated the sport. Charge. That's enough right there. You don't change that call. And I'm not saying you couldn't argue that it was a block. Fine. That's the toughest call in the world. We could go frame by frame and go body part by body part. He had his foot anchored. He might have moved his body. He did this. He did. Fine. But at best, that is a 50-50 split. You already made the call. You had nothing to make a change on that call. To change that call was outrageous. And to me, not only ruined the game, it ruined the series. Because they were about to steal because of a performance that was not good. It was otherworldly. Because the one thing he has never been the best at is knocking down shots. And last night, he knocked down shot after shot after shot after shot. He does everything else. And when he hits shots with that kind of confidence, he's the best player ever. Hands down. It's not even close when he hits shots like that. And except for a little flurry in the third period where he missed 5 shots in a row, this guy shot lights out. He shot 19 for 27. For the rest of the game. I mean, 51 points in the championship game on the road in game 1. And then to have that happen and you ruin a game that had all, made me sick. Listen, I never thought Cleveland was going to win the series. I never even thought they were going to win last night. I kept waiting for the shoe to drop. But when they played the way they played, got up on the glass, got 19 offensive 19. They beat them up on the boards on offensive rebounds, 19-4. They got plays out of Nance last night. I mean, you know what it is? Somebody was there to make a play. And, of course, he scored 51 points. And did it on a minimum of shots. And then to have that ripped away from you And you can tell me, well, you had a chance. And they did have a chance to win again. But it should never have come down to that. They earned that game. They were the better team in that game that day. And then they were just so demoralized in overtime. And listen, they ran out of gas. Listen, this team's a hard team for them to match up against. They have, they have Durant who's going to come at you. They got Curry's going to come at you. They got Thompson's going to come at you. Even Green last night a couple of times, who can fill up a box score. He's a really good, valuable player. He's also a total fool on the court. He's just starting to start. He just wants to start trouble every minute of every day on the court. That's all he wants to do is start trouble. He's always out there to start trouble. He never stops. Just a heartbreaking loss. And let's be honest. For years, you've heard a theme. Oh, the NBA is going to send this official because they want to make sure there's a game 6, or they want to make sure there's game 7. Here's a situation where these officials make one of the most outrageous reversals in sports history, and they kill the team that desperately had to win the game to make it a long series. They killed their own series. This series easily now is going to go in 4 or 5 games, most likely. They killed this series with them not winning game 1. They killed it. And the sad part, they earned game 1. What a tough loss. But I just, listen, I don't like a lot of conspiracy stuff. I hate when people call and they've lost bets. This has nothing to do with anything about that. This is a game where once in a while the officials really mess up a game. And they become way too big a part of the game. This was one of those games. This was one of those times when they just messed it up. And you saw how upset Cleveland was and how upset LeBron was. They have every right to be that upset. Because that play should not, that reversal should not have happened. There was nothing on that screen that told them, I have to reverse this call. Nothing. First of all, the idea that they even have that is ridiculous. Secondly, what did you see? Tell me what you saw in that when you have top officials, top coaches telling you they think it's a charge. Why would you then think you had an overwhelming amount of evidence to turn that call around against LeBron James? Sad. Plain and simple, they ruined the game. Back after this.